going to settle into the breath. Inhale, exhale, setting the intention to surrender completely to the heart. And as we set that intention to surrender, just take note of any feelings that are kind of coming up in, around, through the body. And just surrender into the feelings, surrender into the frequencies. If you're feeling kind of rigid, surrender into that. Or in pain, surrender into the pain. And when we come into the state of surrender, we are coming into unconditional trust with the divine. Going to do a nice big inhale, exhale. And just allow every bit of rigidity just to wash through the body to this state of peace. And as we start to process this peace, this is allowing the currents to engage with any layer of discord, any layer of fear, to start unlocking within your energy field. Inhale, exhale. And just validating the discomfort, validating the feelings, validating any pain, fear, to allow it to transit through. Through the light body. And it's this kind of freeze pain sensation that is kind of coming up over the shoulders that is the most highlighted frequency at the moment. So we're going to feel into that one and just allow this to kind of start opening. Lifting any confusion, lifting any avoidance. It's as if it had been shut down and kind of held, compartmentalized with a lack of self-awareness that's kind of running through this. So it's kind of disconnected from the conscious body. And this one has come from a place of victimization. It has been victimized. So much to the point that it became dissociated. So as we kind of filter through the different reasons behind this then starts to highlight the story behind the frequency. And through this process, we go through a validation to the frequencies to allow them to start shifting through, which then decompresses the emotional body, decompresses the trauma body. Lifting anxiety, trepidation, a flight, freeze, response, a stop, start, go simulation, which is both activating the conscious mind and shutting it down simultaneously. So it feels like when the thought process is coming through, it doesn't actually go anywhere and it never comes to any kind of resolution. And this is because the high levels of pain that interject within that freeze flight momentum, this then creates a deconstruction of thought and a shutdown of awareness. Surrendering to the heart. Inhale, exhale. Pain is being seen, moving up through the lower three chakras into the heart's awareness. Highlighting the feeling of being under attack. Whether that is by a physical abusive pattern from childhood or an emotional, mental abusive pattern, this is creating the child to stop and shut down and almost kind of wince in defense, anticipating an attack. Just scan through the fields, scan through the memories as we start to highlight this mindset, highlight these aspects, and we're just going to reconnect to the source current back down into these aspects. And allow the source field to engage with the freeze. With the child. Re-engaging with divine will and divine strength. opening the victim template, the memories from childhood, the fracturing layers of consciousness. We're just bringing it all up to the light. As the victim template opens, the light of God comes in. Archangel Gabriel, the herald, steps forward, and the whole template begins to illuminate into a layer of protection. Lifting the need to scan for danger from this aspect historically to the present day where you are sat in your seat now. And we're going to bridge the two perspectives together. So, where you are today, strong, resilient, lots of work done, back to that part as a child or a teenager that had gone through layer by layer of fragmentation over short periods of time, over long periods of time, that created destabilization within the mind. We're going to bridge the two together so the one from the past can step in to where you are today. And as the two come together, let's just allow the release of the shock to be felt through the heart. Surrendering these aspects to move through. Knowing that you are 100% safe, 100% secured, 100% protected. To feel this through. Not needing to take any ownership of the pain, of the distortion anymore, because it's not you in your truth. Grief unlocking, pain unlocking, allowing it to be seen. The stiffness, rigidity moving. Engaging with the current of strength, pale gold light. Syncing up through these aspects, lifting up the black cloud over the head, which is restricting the perspective, restricting the perceptions. And unraveling the belief systems behind the victim, looking deeper into the victimizer. So with the victim that has gone through layers upon layers of abuse or traumas, etc., the interaction with the victimizer then threads a layer of consciousness or seeds a layer of consciousness of an abusive mindset through the fragmented aspect. And because the fragment or the aspect had kind of lost awareness within the fear, this then can issue a response of like a negative thought form, a negative feeling, or negative words, which then ultimately uh, build upon each other over periods of time, which then can layer nasty thoughts, nasty words, nasty deeds through the victim to victimizer template. So as we highlight into this aspect, the victimizer, we're going to just go ahead and actively listen to what your aspect has to say, how it feels. And what is its perspective when operating in a victimizer format. And immediately it's coming up with feeling very hard done by, reactive behaviors that's then pointing fingers at, but he did this to me, she did this to me, they did this to me, therefore I must respond back mentality. So underneath these layers, we allow it to surface to show us actually it's operating from pain, operating from suffering, because nobody has fully listened to it. It hasn't had the chance to express the emotional resonance. Allowing sadness to surface, grief, unlocking layers of separation, shame and rejection, tree of life opening, releasing the trauma from the roots up through the branches, out through the leaves, into the light of the sun, as we reconnect into the heavenly realms and bridge that down through the tree. To intercept through these axes points, through these aspects that become volatile, connecting higher realms to lower realms. Restriction through the avoidant patterns of the victimizer, releasing distrust. Now, through the distrust, we've got layers of pain unlocking. Bridging in faith to guide you through. Rainbow light. Layers of gaslighting, or where you had been, or one had been gaslit by the victimizer originally. So this is effectively healing narcissistic abuse. It's just very, very compact, very, very tight. And there's so much self-doubt and disconnection within this that um, it gets almost quite hard to read at times. But we're bridging the trust and the faith to know that where we are going will result in the outcome that is to dismantle the template, dismantle the woundings behind it. Okay, let's go into this gaslit self-doubt layers, which created discord within the perception. Being unable to trust your own thoughts, unable to trust your own belief system, your own perspective of life. Questioning and judging yourself and your own choices, looking for validation, seeking validation externally to see if the choice you're making is correct. And historically, this may have been a case where you'd have to, through getting the answers wrong, so to speak, for the abuser, then leads into you as a child or as a teenager or in a relationship questioning your every move, walking on eggshells, unable to make a choice point that's right for you because you're thinking of the other person or the other group of people situation, which then stops you in your tracks of actually thinking freely as what's right for you. Let's just highlight that now and just wash the violet flame horizontally, right to left, left to right. Inhale, exhale, update vertically. Violet architecture, violet geometry, Holy Father, rebuilding security levels, Ruby Templar, spins and reconstructs, high levels of fear releasing, pain unlocking, more rigidity in the field presents as we update the dark matter templates and reconnect in the Holy Father. Synchronizing up to your field. Inhale, exhale. Allowing the parental structure to rebuild. Okay, we're really getting somewhere now, guys. It feels really good. So everything's starting to open and starting to move. There are layers that are still quite heavily locked up, which I'm going to try and get into today, or I am going to intend for that, just so we can get a more open experience of this kind of abuse in order to move ourselves through it and move ourselves beyond it, which then goes through a process of integration. So we ask now, what is the most impactful issue within this trauma that we can deal with that's going to bring the highest solution for everyone? Feeling deep, deep grief, unlocking and opening here. The pain of the child, the layers of the shadow consciousness purging and rebuking, giving a voice to the unseen. Yeshua Christ enters through the heart. The heart turns gold and begins to glow with the golden fire through the center. As this connects back to these aspects, we get a rotation within each fractal fragment, opening and unlocking their history, pivoting through the sit bones, sacred twin flame, Mary Magdalene, with Yeshua, aquamarine to ruby, golden emanation, harmonizing masculine and feminine currents, stabilizing the minds of the aspects, the Holy Trinity, transduction and heat moving through the throat, through the neck, lower chakras release, feelings of exhaustion lifting, shock waves loosening and moving into neutrality. Okay, we're going to send that neutral point of Hieros Gamos, the sacred marriage, and the Holy Trinity back to these historical aspects. So this Holy Trinity is coming in as Mary Magdalene, Yeshua, and yourself. And these are a bridge point between the three worlds, or the three layers, highest perspective, and then the masculine and feminine. And as we sync them up together, bringing them back into these old historical parts of the self, this then restabilizes the child, restabilizes the teenage years, and the whole timelines of the victim victimizer template. So all of the interactions that have gone on within that. Okay, surrendering. Crystal, star, diamond, Merkaba enters to the template, begins to spin. Emotional distortions, heavy anger, judgment, releasing, psychosis, paranoia, unraveling. Distorted waveform frequency bands locked into the template, unraveling, and all of this beautiful violet crystal coded light circulates through the template and begins the recoding process to the victim victimizer. Inhale, exhale. High levels of anxiety, unlocking, releasing. Entity attachments woven through black light threads into the victim victimizer template. So this would be a kind of hijack to one's own templating and to one's own mind. D-thread. So when we're looking at this, how this can present in the physical format, or within your emotional mental body, this can actually sit as a heaviness of thick negative thoughts, negative thought forms that are compressed within your day to day, which sits as a field of depression, and that unconsciously kind of you interact with it thinking that it is just a thought form, but it's actually something bigger than that that's latched into your field effectively. Sometimes it can be as soon as you wake up, you feel heaviness, you feel angry at the world, you feel uncomfortable. And as you kind of go about your day, it doesn't really subside, it doesn't really go away. And this is because it's got a way to latch in when you feel a specific frequency band, like fear or anxiety, coming out of dream state into your walking day to day life. Now, the trick is just to understand the mechanics behind it and how it actually feels and looks when it's latching in. And then eventually you kind of think your way out of it, you evolve your thought forms out of it so it cannot latch on, it cannot stay there. Going to do a light wash with white to opal liquid light through the template and through the dark mass structure that's kind of woven in there. Stripping out any anxieties in the process, any levels of fear. And when we open this fear, this would then look like these kind of difficult interactions with the abuser or within social situations. Full right side body unlocking and releasing. Solar plexus unknotting, release from the back side of the solar plexus as it deknots itself, restoring power centers, updating through the solar plexus. The fire of the sun engages at the core of the solar plexus. Inhale, exhale, opening the Manipura. Throat chakra engages, unlocking begins to spin, allowing the expression of self through movement, through sound, through emotion. As the trauma is being seen and heard. Front side of the crown, high side of the third eye, interlocking and opening. Back side of the ninth chakra above the throat, which is the medulla oblongata, the mouth of God, connects through the brainstem and through the hypothalamus, begins to engage here. Energetic purge through the glandular system, metallic fibers releasing and unlocking. What we're seeing here is layers of infiltration through the victimizer template, which is intercepted within the chakra system, coming through the ninth chakra, the medulla, or the medulla oblongata, the brainstem, which is having an interaction with the endocrine system, allowing the process of purge and release. Trigeminal nerves inflamed across the face, left side body unlocking, releasing, revoking, rescinding oaths, vows, and agreements, contracts, and covenants with the original abuser. And that can be in this physical format, or it can be through this ninth dimensional field of the progenitor races, which actually goes up to the 11th, but different story for a different time. It's sinking through this ninth chakra at the moment, the atomic doorway. Emerald light ray, recoding. Emerald order, synthesizing. Emerald codes, updating. Intercept through the body core, through the cerebral spinal fluid, the stem, the spinal cord, and reprinting through the organs, bioregenesis. Implant systems unlock. Inhale, exhale. Recoding out the implants. Memories of high level of attack, shock, fear coming up through the galactic fields this time. And that's bringing in a kind of like an invasion memory and just being attacked and persecuted. Just attacking and persecuting for you for just being, with the intention to reap and harvest from you, taking your energy and filter feeding it through this implanting system back up and into the entropic invasion structure or invading structures. No consent to this. Release, revoke, rescind all oaths, vows, and agreements. Do not consent to have your energy taken, harvested, lifted. Known and unknown. Inhale, exhale. Shock levels release. Surrendering to the heart, allowing all of this kind of infested, kind of fractured invader structures to detach from your field, so we can reclaim a level of sovereignty and neutrality to the situation. Okay, we then relay this down to the victim as the understanding of what has kind of gone on historically. And we also take it through as a representation of warfare, whether we've grown up with warfare in the home from our siblings, from colleagues and co-workers that have left, or partners that have left you in a state of fight, flight, survival instinct. We just want to highlight this similar storyline thread that plays out through the abuser. And what we can see with this is there is a much bigger situation going on, playing out through the abusers in our lives, or that were in our lives, hopefully. For us to take a step back and get a level of neutrality with the different situations, the cause and effect response from them to us, and also now knowing the higher dimensional information that plays out within their own bodies, where they have gone through war zones and then inflicted that onto somebody else, onto the recipient. Okay, so now we connect in with compassion for ourselves and for the greater perspective of our universe. Lifting out any dark light interactions that have been connecting in to your system through this template, through this layer of trauma that's creating the chaotic mind or the kind of paranoid mind. I feel like we've got a lot of this open now. it just needs to kind of reshuffle itself and kind of go through an integrative process. Still layers of fear circulating over the crown of the head that we'll just address now, which is relating to the invasion and to the higher dimensional attacks or the interdimensional attacks. And what we want to do here with this is just, number one, call back the essence, move through to reintegrate. Which may be feeling right now like high in emotion, high in the emotional charge, and that is perfectly fine. It's okay. But what we're just going to do is loop a blue diamond bridge back to these aspects and just allow them to stabilize as they take one foot on the bridge, whether they stay in their positions or whether they actually come back to you. We're just going to create that connection there. Validating any layers of pain as we bridge connection to them and understanding. Just validate and say, I absolutely see you, I absolutely hear you, and this is what I've done to create a safe place for you to come home. I've done this for you because I want you to feel safe when you're with me, as if you're talking to yourself directly. And immediately there is layers of love starting to circulate and flourish. Stepping back to connect with you. In full acceptance of yourself. Coming back to the viewpoint of the Holy Trinity, in this case, Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, and yourself, merging 3 to 1. Building through the vertical pillar and the horizontal pillar. And in turn, the ancestral. Divine Mother, Divine Father. Syncing up. To you as the downward facing triangle, the downward pointing triangle, which interlinks with the upward facing triangle of Mary Magdalene, Yeshua, and you. And we're just going to bring them together to make the Star of David. Hierophant star, and allowing this to spin to clear the field. In pale silver light. Wonderful. Nice and peaceful. We're going to go ahead and update through all fields. We're going to update through all localized grids. Reintegrate all soul essence through time and space, all the way forwards, all the way back. Seal forward now through all levels or layers of light, through all bodies, through the breath of the divine I am. Recode, release, and seal. Thank you all so much for coming. That was lovely.